Lowe's knows July 4th savings are worth celebrating. Right now, get up to 40% off select major appliances and get an additional 10% off 2 or more select major appliances. Plus, get 3 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. These deals are coming in hot. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/9. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff from that'sgoodenough.me.com, and this is the Almost Punk Enough podcast. Today we have our Riot Fest guys and contributors, Jim and Jason, here again. We're going to talk about Riot Fest, and this time they came out with the set times and the kind of like which bands are playing where. And we're going to talk about what parts of that seem really cool to us and which parts we're kind of bummed about because it means we're going to miss an act or two. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Hey, doing good.
Excellent. It's going pretty good here. We're gearing up for our pending move from the San Francisco Bay Area to Minnesota at the end of the month. So things are getting kind of hectic in this household.
Another move.
Yeah, another move. Yeah. When you marry a scientist, sometimes those things just kind of happen. We end up all over the place. But we have traveled around a lot. We have lived in 3 different countries and all this fun stuff. So it's interesting. So today we're going to start by just recapping some of the news we've had over the recent days. First off, just today, Bad Dad got to premiere the new track from Flat Waves out of Philadelphia. They're a fuzz rock band, and the track is called Route 38. So that's just went live about an hour or so ago, maybe an hour or two ago, our time as we're recording. So feel free to go check that out on the website. Also, this is kind of big news. Little Rocket Records, which is run by Graham Philliskirk, formerly of Leatherface and Meditation and things like that, I think. They just announced they're going to be releasing the Peel sessions for Leatherface. These were recorded back in the 90s. 3 different sessions with John Peel, the legendary John Peel. And so it's pretty exciting. They've released one of the tracks now, which is Peasant in Paradise. Did anyone else get to have a listen to that just yet?
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, I did actually. So, Leatherface, add that to my laundry list of bands that, I've heard of for many, many years, but never really heard a lot of. So I have seen a lot of record collectors being excited about that. So I have checked into that even before the news piece came out. And I was really kind of impressed by what I heard, especially the vocals. I really kind of like the grittiness of the vocals. It was almost kind of like if Lemmy was kind of fronting a more poppier punk band. I don't know if that's fair to say to longtime fans, but that was my first impression.
Like the original gravelcore band. I'm looking forward to this. I definitely have it on my list. Check it out.
Yeah, so Frankie Stubbs, the vocalist, he's got a very unique voice, and he's actually been doing a lot of acoustic stuff lately. Also put out by Little Rocket Records, like they're still working together and stuff. And so I guess it's like the gravelcore, that kind of gruff punk sound, but there's also like this weird like melodic, like really melodic sound to it. Like it's not like just angry in your face like a lot of UK punk back then was. So Leatherface is like really well regarded, and I'm excited for the release. Should be a good one. Sticking with the with the UK, we have Damn It Records. They are they put out monthly compilations. And the newest one, July 2025, is out. It's typically 10 bands from all across the world. And this one's got River City Rejects, The Phantom, Tim, Mufri, and the Miffinwis. I think it's Welsh. I probably can't pronounce it. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. So that's always a fun thing. We try to cover them every month when they release it on the 1st, because part of the point of TGEFM is to get different and new music into people's ears. And we're going to move on to some reviews that we've got out. We just put out our June releases drive-by reviews. Those who haven't seen them yet or visited them, the drive-by reviews are basically short, like 1 or 2 sentence reviews of albums, songs, everything that comes out. And they're kind of things we didn't get to do a full review for. This is put together by Bad Dad and or Dan Rizcheks, usually spearhead this. And for June, they've got some quick reviews of the Bon Air Electrics Rudy EP, Fishbone's new album Stockholm Syndrome, and some comps. Walt Hamburger's new all-band album, and Louie, put out by Thousand Island Records. So that's a good one to check out as well for our reviews. The big things we've got going on for reviews are some live reviews from Bad Dad. He's over on the East Coast and he gets to go to a lot of shows. And so he got to visit at Asbury Lanes, the Murder by Death entry there for the farewell tour with Laura Jane Grace. So this is a live review plus photo gallery. So he gets to take a lot of pictures there. As well, you know that we've been doing a lot of Camp Punksylvania coverage for the third or fourth year in a row we did it. A lot of interviews with the bands that are performing. And then Bad Dad gets to go to the 3-day festival. And he has released the first day's kind of recap and review. Once again, a photo gallery. So it's kind of like for him out there, it's the new up-and-coming Riot Fest. And I don't know if any of you guys ever got a chance to go to Camp Punksylvania, but I'm sure Jason wouldn't mind getting the Space Age Zeros there at some point.
Yeah, it's a great lineup. It was funny because I was reading the review. So ironically, in the past few weeks, we've actually played 2 shows. We played in Madison with Direct Hit, and then we played with Get Dead in Chicago a couple weeks ago. So I've been hearing a lot over the past few weeks about the festival. I know both those bands are very excited to get out there. So I was, excited that we got to meet up with them in the Midwest. But that lineup looked amazing, and I read Bad Dad's review, and the first day looked like it was a great time.
Yeah, Riot Squad Media, who put this together, have really been like growing the event, and it's got a lot of good bands that come through. And I mean, Dillinger 4 playing, we got Skull, Cancer Bats, a lot of great stuff. So I think it's a fun festival, and we really enjoy working with them. They're great, and they're always so forthcoming and helpful with all the information we need. And so it's a great time. So definitely that review is also live on the website. So next we're going to go on to talking about Riot Fest, and we'll be back just after this break. Okay, everyone, we are back, and now we're going to be talking about Riot Fest. If you recall, a couple episodes ago, Jason, Jim, and I got together to talk about the lineup for Riot Fest, all the bands that were playing, what we were excited about, or what they're excited about. I'm not going to be able to make it. But now, about a week and a half ago or so, they released the set lists, or set times, sorry, and the who's performing when and what stage. And what we're going to do today is just talk about what we're happy about, what we're sad about, because it means they're going to miss something. If I was going, what I would be sad about, et cetera, et cetera. So why don't we let you guys take over on this one?
One thing about this year that I think we mentioned before is that everything is happening earlier than it ever has before. So we got the band list early, and then we got the schedule that we're going to discuss today early. And one of the issues that I'm having, Jason, you're probably feeling the same thing, is that now I can't wait. It seems like typically you get the schedule, and then like the Riot Fest is like 2 weeks later, and now we've got 2 months. So we've got a lot of time, at least, to figure out who we want to see.
Yeah, I want to interject with something on there because I've been thinking a lot about this too, and I agree with you, Jim, about the early announcements. The one thought that I had about that is just looking at the headliners. This has to be for the organizers the highest expense year, right? Given the bands that are playing, knowing what the realistic guarantees are. There's been some big reunions in the past that I'm sure cost plenty, but my thoughts were this year, they probably, I'm sure their advertising budget is the largest it's been. For those here in Chicago, there's Riot Fest billboards on every major expressway and tollway. So there's no doubt that it sounds like ticket sales are doing great, but given, the star power of the headliners, that would probably be my, putting my business hat on as to why they probably, wanted to announce as early as possible, because I think, they knew the advertising was going to have to be strong to ensure there was more time to advertise and get those ticket sales. But, sounds like things are going well. So
Yeah, I saw that VIP is sold out. So,
Wow.
usually, uh, not that I recall ever being a sellout, although, like maybe a few days before, they'll say low ticket alert or something. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a sellout this year.
yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I guess yeah, Jason brings up a good point, and I think that kind of ties in with all the like huge headlining acts. You obviously want to like let everyone know what's going on, and it also you have a lot of traveling bands that are coming from far, so yeah, I think it makes sense. So I'll throw it to you guys and ask first off. Maybe we'll start with the bad. What is your most unhappiest conflict so far? I know if I was going, I know what mine would be, and I know we chatted about this in our little thread. But the either the Sam I Am versus Shudder to Think would be really really tough for me to make a decision on. And I'd probably have to go for Shudder to Think because I've just never seen them live, and I've seen Sam I Am quite a few times. Not in a couple decades though. I think the last time I saw them live was maybe in the late '90s in Madison, but never Shudder to Think. And then that Superchunk Guar helmet conflict. Because I love Superchunk and Guar a lot. I'm a huge fan of both bands since like the late '80s, early '90s, maybe early '90s. And Helmet I've seen, and they're not not my top tier, but that's a band I would want to see live because they put on a great live show. But since I'm not going, that's all a moot point. Let's hear what you guys think.
Well, you touched on day one with the Sam I Am Shudder to Think, and that whole time frame right there is I've got like pretty much everything circled. So that's not good. But the way
Yeah.
we do Riot Fest, my wife Kelly and I, we move around. So definitely want to catch Showing a Knife to start out Friday. And then, Max Sabbath is going to go into the Tossers, Touche Amore, Puddle's Pity Party, Sam I Am, Shudder to Think, Camper von Beethoven. And then one of my first major conflicts after that cluster is Agnostic Front and the Hold Steady.
Oh
Two bands
yeah,
that
yeah.
don't really sound similar. I think it'll depend what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm feeling kind of like for a more slower groove, then maybe the Hold Steady, and if I'm feeling like getting nutty, Agnostic Front.
I had that was a big conflict that I had as well. I kind of have my thoughts organized day by day. But that for that day, that was my first big conflict as well, was Agnostic Front and Hold Steady. I think I may have mentioned this last time that Agnostic Front was my first all ages hardcore show. So that band has always been near and dear to my heart. They have an hour slot. They're playing Victim in Pain in full, which, gets you at the 12-minute mark at best. So, it should be, pretty much that album plus the greatest hit set. For me, Hold Steady, I do like. I'm a little bit newer to them. Plus, I did see them last year. So, missing them is a little easier for me. So, definitely will pick Agnostic Front, but I agree that is a conflict. I'll just bump up because you guys mentioned the Sam I Am Shudder to Think conflict. I kind of feel the same way. Ironically, Sam I Am, I think I've been to two shows that they were on the bill, but I missed. And I've actually, been a fan of theirs since, their first Lookout 7-inch I Am came out. It was, one of the first records I actually ever bought. But they're playing an album Astray which I'm actually not familiar with, which may seem, surprising because I know that's a classic album of theirs. I just, just not an album I'm familiar with. But I will probably pick Sam I Am in that slot simply because I've never seen either, but probably more familiar with Sam I Am's catalog. I guess since we're talking the first day really quick, I'll finish my thoughts on the first day. As far as conflicts go, I wouldn't say it's straight conflicts, but there's a lot of overlaps. Like the Digit set, which starts at 5:30, bleeds into the Alkaline Trio, who are
Yeah.
playing Maybe I'll Catch Fire. I'll admit that is not my all-time favorite trio album, but the fact that they're playing that in full means that they'll be playing songs that are not always in their set list. So, or at least they haven't played in a long time. Um, but that bleeds into Stiff Little Fingers, who are one of my favorite bands. So no doubt that'll be a three back and forth, but there'll be some overlap there. So that's we're talking. Jeff, you initially asked about the negative is the Digits trio, Stiff Little Fingers, that three block um, bleeding into each other is a negative for me. And I'm just gonna get it out of the way because I know this will not be popular with with most. I don't care at all about missing Weird Al. Yes, I like Weird Al. It's sticky, but in a Riot Fest setting, that's up there with the Beach Boys and for me. And I know I mentioned this last time in the I don't care category. So kind of glad that they're going up against Stiff Little Fingers because it just makes that decision easier for me. And
Sorry, Weird Al.
yeah, no. I mean, hey, more power to him. I'm not a fan of cover songs to begin with, but at least he puts his own take on it, and it is entertainment. But just yeah, I think it serves a good purpose having him at Riot Fest. Just it's missing his set is not an issue for me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like Weird Al is like a thing that like people have been pushing for Riot Fest for a long
sure,
time, and you
yep.
wonder if like now that like he's like like put that notch in his belt for Riot Fest that he'll finally get the Super Bowl performance that people have been clamoring for like a decade, you know?
That would be amazing. It's funny because that'll be good. You'll get the coverage on Stiff Little Fingers and maybe a little bit of Knock Loose because that's one of my conflicts, but it's not Stiff Little Fingers, it's Weird Al and Knock Loose.
Okay.
Not happy about that at all. But I've seen Weird Al before and it's such a great show. Like you know, I get it. Like you've got your bands that you want to see, love Knock Loose, love Stiff Little Fingers. I saw Stiff Little Fingers a few years back at Riot Fest. I mean, a lot of years back, maybe it was 10 years.
Hmm.
But Weird Al, it's going to be a blast. And I want to see what what the crowd is like, how they respond to just the show because he's got the costumes, he's got the sets, he's got the videos playing in the background. It's going to be a real hootenanny, and I'm I'm going to be there for that, and I'm going to miss
Oh,
Knock Loose, which I'm not happy about. Like I said, um, one thing that I wanted to mention that we don't have right now is the after shows, because a lot of
mm,
times conflicts are alleviated if you have the stamina to attend the after shows, which I
that's a good
don't.
point.
Yeah,
Um,
good point. Yeah.
but I'm curious to see how many of these conflicts will be alleviated by that. But I'm guessing Knock Loose could do an after show. Don't think I'll be attending, but that would be great, at least for some festival goers. And we can end day one by talking about Blink 182 and the Pogues. I have the Pogues because I've never seen them, and they're classic. And who knows how many times I'll get to see them. I've seen Blink many times. I don't want to miss them because they are a blast, especially in the summer. But I'm going to catch the Pogues.
And Jason, what's your pick for
Well,
the headliner?
yeah, I'll admit I'm not, aside from some of their bigger tracks, I've never been a big Pogues follower. But definitely a band that I've never seen and probably wouldn't go see on their own. And Blink 182, I think I'm just a little old for them. I'll be brutally honest. I mean, like I like some of their, I like some of their songs. I'm sure they're a blast live. I think I did see them once, like part of their set at Warped Tour many moons ago. I definitely appreciate what they did, especially for pop punk, and bringing thousands and thousands, possibly millions into the underground. So I think it'll be a blast. I think the thing with Blink, especially in Chicago, it's the inevitable that Matt Skiba will probably join him on stage, which is probably why I might side with Blink. Whether or not I would stay the whole set, that I'm not sure. As you stated, kind of have to see what's going on with the after shows if there's something that might be mandatory to catch there.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
imagine
good
that
point
too.
about Med Skiba too. That's something I'll have to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is like you kind of expect it would have to happen. Um, I guess maybe not, but he's playing right before them on that stage, and then
Right.
gets a break. So we'll see what happens. Um, okay, so we will be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more. We're going to go into day two. All right, and we are back, and now we're talking about day two on Riot Fest, which has a lot of good bands playing. Cliff Diver, I think that like Kansas or something. We really cover them a lot. That big Superchunk Guar helmet, Conflict, James, which I was kind of surprised about. Buzzcocks, The Damned, Dropkick. And then you got Weezer and the Sex Pistols with Frank Carter. Uh, so, what are you guys thinking?
When it comes to we could just jump to the headliners on this one because I thought that this was kind of surprising scheduling. Maybe there's an after show that will alleviate this, but I thought it made more sense for Jack White well, I guess Weezer was stated as a headliner, so they can't really put Jack White ahead of them, but they could have switched the Sex Pistols and Jack White and let people see the Sex Pistols and Weezer instead of putting that as a conflict because that is a tough one. For me, I think
Yep.
it's the Sex
Yeah.
Pistols.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Go ahead, Jason. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, I was pretty much going to echo what you were saying too. I was kind of hoping, like, kind of like how on, well, we'll get to it in day three, but, Green Day goes against nobody. So I was kind of hoping maybe that would have been the case, especially with this year's lineup being so headliner heavy. Um, this is a tough one for me too. I personally have only seen Weezer one time, and it was a long time ago. So, um, they come a lot. I just, a band I like a lot, but just really never go see on their own. So this would have been the perfect environment to see them. But as I said last time, I've never seen any of the Pistols reunion, and that was one of the first bands I ever got into. Getting out of metal in junior high, so
Yeah.
no way I can miss that Pistol set. Maybe I'll try and catch a little of both, but
That's my thought too. A little of both. It's probably how it's going to end up.
But I do agree. That seems like an odd like head to head for a headliner, because you figured there would be a lot more crossover between Weezer fans and Sex Pistols fans than maybe Jack White and any of those.
right.
Not to knock Jack White, but his who knows what he's going to be performing here. His musical stylings are kind of all over the board, depending on what genre he's really keen on at the moment. So it just I would really imagine that the Sex Pistols thing could have been a bit earlier. Maybe one slot up, as you guys mentioned, so that there would be feed in. But I'm sure the Riot Fest people they really kind of agonize over a lot of these lineup decisions, and there's also probably contractual agreements and things like that for bands on when and who they'll be performing. So we don't know that part. I'm just a bit surprised by that. Is
Yeah.
there anything else during that day that kind of tickles your fancy?
Yeah, there's one I want to point out, which may seem, as a little bit of a curveball to some, but the earlier in the day, around like the 1:30 mark, we have a Military Gun, Agent Orange, and H2O all at
Oh
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So, Military Gun, it's a band, I hear them a lot on like Sirius, and I really dig them every time I hear them. So once again, that's a perfect, that's why I love Riot Fest. A lot of times get to catch a lot of those newer bands, you know, for the first time live. So would have want to see them. So H2O is another band, especially in the 90s. I love them when they came out. To me, they were kind of like the reincarnation of like 7 Seconds, playing that melodic hardcore, but a more mainstream type feel, I guess you could say. But I think they do it very well and very genuine. And then, of course, Agent Orange playing a full album play of Living in Darkness. So for me, at least as of now, I think I'm going to have to pick Agent Orange simply because never seen him. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's a conflict for me.
Oh yeah, same here. That was one that I had circled. I'm glad you mentioned it. And I agree. Agent Orange, been around a long time, never seen him,
Hmm.
and I don't know how many chances I'm going to get. Military Gun, I'm going to try to catch some of their set. I'm going to try to slide over there, but they're going to be around for a while. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was going to say like they're a young band, they're going to be here. But yeah, Agent Orange probably double the age of H2O almost.
Right.
H2O 20 25 years into their tenure. So yeah, it's kind of like super veteran, and up and comer, and that is a tough choice. Yeah.
and then the Super Chunk helmet, we talked about that with Guar. I think I'm going to go with Super Chunk on that one. Helmet's playing Betty, which isn't one of my favorite records by them. I would take Strap It On. Meantime would have
Hmm.
been really cool. Betty's not my favorite, but maybe I'll be able to slide over there and see some of their set anyway. um,
Yeah, I noticed that the Helmus got the longest slot, I think, out of that group, or maybe yeah, the longest slot. So like you could conceivably do Superchunk or Guar and still pick up some helmet.
that's what I'm planning on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, Super Chunk War and Helmet. Yeah, for sure, I'll definitely be picking Helmet out of the three there. But Super Chunk are great. Some once in the '90s. Can't say I'm familiar with their entire catalog, but um, I think my pick would be Helmet on that one.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Any other thoughts for Saturday, September 20th?
You touched on the James Marky Ramone Bouncing Souls conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
another conflict for me. I've got all three circled. They're all basically at the exact same time. I'm torn. I mentioned in the last podcast that I'm 90% sure that James is going to play late in its entirety, in which case I'm going to be likely going to that, and then we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll be able to check out one of the other ones, cut away a little bit early, but probably go with James.
Yeah, that's for me just because of my specific taste. That's a no brainer for Marky Ramone.
Yeah, I would imagine that for you. I was kind of
Yeah,
thinking that would be the way you're going to
if
lean.
you know me, yeah, that's
Yeah. So
nothing against James or Bouncing Souls. Bouncing Souls are always great live, but yeah, I just can't miss a Ramon live. So
that's what I was thinking too. Like James, like the good thing about that, and Jim kind of tapped onto this is like James has like a good 20-minute start on those other two. I'm surprised that Marky Ramone and the Bouncing Souls are like exact time slot. But I could do like if I was there, I could do like 20 minutes of James. I've seen Bouncing Souls a bunch of times. They're great. They're really fun. But yeah, I think that Marky Ramone playing the Ramones thing is going to be a good one. All
Have
right.
either of you guys ever seen the Ramones with Joey and Johnny and Marky and
No,
CJ?
yeah,
no, I did
yeah,
not.
Nice.
I've seen him a couple times. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
once in Madison and once in Chicago. But
At
this
the
was both
Riv.
towards the end of their career. This was like uh, 95, 96.
All
Yeah.
right.
Still good shows. I was at the show at the Aragon in '88 when the Ramones and Iggy Pop were
Yeah,
like yeah,
Oh,
I
that would
co-headliners.
have
wasn't
been
there,
nice.
but I definitely remember that. Yep. Was it Dickies maybe too?
I
That could
don't
have been a
remember
different one.
that.
Okay.
That might have been a different one, but
Yeah.
that was the old days of the Aragon, and great show.
Yeah, it's like I never made it to an Aragon show until I saw Faith No More on their Angel Dust tour,
Mm.
and that was with helmet opening as well. Like that was the first time
Oh,
I got to see
nice.
helmet. So that was like, yeah. So, but it, like I had like that was my first time ever making it to the Aragon after all those years.
It,
Okay,
they were
so
smart to remove the seats,
yeah,
after a lot of blood and Slayer shows over the years. So
yeah, definitely. All right, okay, and so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll finish up with day 3. And we're back now and talking about the final day of Riot Fest. We got a lot of great bands again on Sunday. Weekend Friends, Pegboy will be playing, and the Smoking Popes. Bit of a conflict there. Like the end of the Popes will butt into the Pegboy, which is kind of odd for the hometown boys. Screeching Weasel will be playing later on. Wonder Years Texas is the reason, and then Jawbreaker and Green Day. Did I lose it?
Yeah, my only conflict of that day really is Smoking Popes, Peg Boys, Zero Boys, all kind of playing in the similar overlap. Would have been great if they could have moved the Popes maybe and flipped them out with the Dance Hall Crashers or something.
hmm
That would have made a lot more sense.
yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah, yeah, this is the day that I've probably the most excited about, just with all the Chicago bands. So for me, I knew we'd be talking about this, so I've been thinking about it a lot. The Pegboy Popes overlap. It's been a minute since I've seen Pegboy. It really has, and Popes I've seen a handful of times in more recent years. Even though they have an amazing new album, but it seems like they're going to be playing Born to Quit in its entirety, which in a way this may sound odd. It actually makes it for me almost even easier to miss Popes because those are majority songs that I've heard live many, many times.
A
Luckily, being from
thousand times.
Chicago, yeah,
Yeah.
as much as I love the Pope. So for me,
True.
Pegboy playing Strong Reaction in full, especially being back to back with Zero Boys. Unfortunately, yeah, I definitely will not miss Zero Boys playing Vicious Circle in full. That's a flawless top 10 Midwest album for me personally. So yeah, the day's going to start out strong for me with effigies, Little Break, then Zero Boys and Pegboy. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to miss Popes.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna end up doing on this one. It could be moving around like we always do. It could be, maybe we just stick with Pegboy. I mean, we just saw the Popes at Legit Dogs not too long ago, a couple
hmm
months back, I think. So maybe we just stick with Pegboy. We'll see. But we love the Popes too, Chicago band, and we've got to at least see some of it. So I don't know. We'll try to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's always tough.
See, one thing that surprised me, Lambrini Girls are from over in the UK, so in a way, like with time zone changes and everything, maybe they should have put them earlier so they, feel like they're playing at a normal time.
Right.
But oh well. So yeah, and then we got quite a few other acts coming up. Like no really conflict between like, Screeching Weasel and Bad Religion are kind of like a good lead in from one to the other. What else interests you that day?
For me, what interests me though, it's a good question because the day starts out strong for me, so it may be, more, who knows if we set up interviews and things like that as well, it may just be a break for me. Is you have the Lindas, Ataris, and Lambrini girls at all at the same time. Um, Believe it or not, I've never seen the Ataris. Midwest band, but I've never seen them. So this would be a perfect, arena for me to see them in. And yet, Linda's and Lambrini Girls are two, younger acts, which I'm surprised Linda's actually aren't even playing later in the day.
Me
I don't know, it
too.
seemed to
Yeah.
me like last year they were like a big breakout band. Kind of surprised they were playing early. So, but coming off of Effigy, Zero Boys, and Pegboy, yeah, I don't know. That may have to be a little bit of a break for me because Screeching Weasel doing my brain hurts. That's going to be that's going to be me going off hard, and I know it. So that might be a break time for me. But there's three acts I'm interested in. So that I consider that a conflict where I may be taking a break. um, So once
Yeah, I
again, yeah,
agree.
it's just that type of it's just that type of thing where sometimes there's bands you want to see, but it's just it's just like you kind of need that break to even go go grab a drink or whatever. So we'll see.
Good time to grab a bite, you know.
Yeah,
My motto,
exactly.
my motto for Riot Fest is eat what you can when you can and drink as much water as you can. The rest of it will settle itself out. But that's a good time to eat, and especially you can beat the rush.
Yeah.
Words to live
Um,
by.
and the rest of the day though, for me, maybe a little bit of overlap, but otherwise it's pretty smooth sailing. I've got, after the, break maybe, or catch some Linda Lindas, catch some Ataris, definitely catching Screeching Weasel,
Hmm.
Bad Religion, some of the Wonder Years, Texas is the Reason, Jawbreaker, Green Day. I mean, that's my day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For me, Screeching Weasel, Bad Religion, same thing. I mean, that's a band I've easily seen a dozen times live. If for some reason I feel wiped or need a break, I mean, we'll definitely see some of them. If I don't catch the whole set, not a big deal. Now, Wonder Years is another band that I know they've been around for a while, but are kind of newer to my ears. And anytime that I hear one of their songs, like it always catches my attention. So wouldn't mind catching some of them. If I could. Um, Texas is the reason. Yet another band. Of course, known the name for years. Just I can't say I'm familiar with them. I know you guys are into them. That will be kind of a see how I'm feeling type of thing. If I feel I need a break, especially knowing Jawbreaker's coming up, that may be another like break hour or so for me. That kind of in between Wonder Years and Jawbreaker, there's like a almost a hour break. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see. But yeah, but the Jawbreaker and Green Day, that's the no brainer there. I mean, I feel sorry for Academy is, and I'm sorry, I don't even know who Inhaler are to tell you the truth. That's new to me. Every time I see that name, I think of the metal band Impaler, and I get excited for a brief minute. But I'd be like, I'd be the less than 0.5% of people in the crowd who would know who they are. Midwest metal band, but I know that's not them. So, have you guys heard of Inhaler? Am I missing
to,
something there?
to
Or?
be fair, no, I have
Okay,
not.
so it's not
Yeah.
just me. Okay.
I
So
think that I listened to them, to kind of prepare, and I they must not have made much of an impression because I can't really remember, how what genre it is even. But I'll have to revisit it. And I do like the Academy is. They were great a couple years back, but not going to miss Jawbreaker to catch them. And I do want to see Microwave. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
going to miss any of Screeching Weasel. So my guess would be Microwave will be playing an after show.
Yeah, I could see that too. Yeah, Microwave and other bands, kind of their same ilk that I forgot if they're playing Friday or Saturday that we kind of overlooked was Free Throw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Free Throw. Also kind of the same ilk, more of a modern, emo pop punk band. That I forgot who they conflict with, but I was kind of hoping to catch some of theirs. But I remember like who they're playing against, and it was kind of one of those. Well, have to miss them.
they're
And
they're
oh,
playing on Saturday against the Cribs.
okay,
And that's really the only conflict. They're right after Agent Orange,
okay,
against the Cribs. And interestingly, Free Throw is playing the Rise stage an hour after Throne, Thrown. So
hmm.
you figure if you really wanted to, you could do Free Throw first and then Throne afterwards as a good play on words, but I guess
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
That would
I
have
guess
been a good idea.
the one quick thing I want to say about Jawbreaker is I don't know if you guys have caught. I think that they've kind of um been kind of leaking that they've been either practicing and or in the studio. So what would be awesome is given the number of shows they've been playing since they've kind of first come back, if being awesome if they maybe even threw in a new song at Riot Fest.
I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised. I've got a friend who's really kind of in with them, and he's actually really buddy buddy with the guitar tech who's now like the touring second
yeah,
guitarist,
yep,
and he's intimated that they've got some new tunes under wraps for quite a while, and
They've
they're
kind of
just
been
hashing
leaking
them
it.
out and get
That's
them out.
kind of what I've
Yeah,
been thinking. So that
yeah.
would be awesome. So yeah, that Jawbreaker, that Jawbreaker set that's a can't miss.
I mean, they're due for a full length, I would say. Since they've gotten back together, it's had some time to write, and it's time.
Yeah,
It's the 30 years since Dear You. Come on.
Exactly.
yeah.
We're
I
old.
that album I know is so polarizing amongst fans. I loved it since the day it was released. I remember going to see them for Dear You, and you could tell that the crowd was changing a little bit. They kind of lost a lot of their older fans because people just that was still in the MRR days, and they were slammed to the gills for finally signing and everything, and but time has been good to that album, and people have really come around to appreciate it, so which is great.
Definitely. Was that the Dear You tour? Was that at the Metro?
They did two. Yeah, there were two legs. I remember they did one leg with the Popes and then another leg with Job Box.
Yeah, I was at the Jawbox one in Engine
Yeah.
'88. I have the
Yes.
next
Yeah.
the
Yep. Yep.
yeah the next week after that, my friends played a show there, like a late night showcase for local bands, and their green room was like Jawbreaker's room, and like the set times sheet was still up on the wall, so I took it and I still have it.
Oh, that's awesome. You still have that?
Yeah, I do.
That's great.
It's
That's
awesome.
cool. That'd be kind of cool. Like if you can get like that signed someday or something, that'd be pretty neat.
Oh, that would be super cool. All right, so that's taking us up. I mean, I guess everyone's kind of assumption is that if you're sticking around for the headliner, it's going to be Green Day. They've got an hour and 45 minute set lined up. That's quite a ride for them. So since it's going to be Green Day, what are you hopeful that they're going to tap into in their extensive discography?
Well, I've been seeing. I know they're in Europe right now, and I've seen they have been pulling out. Like they played One of My Lies this week, so I was really stoked to see that. Um, I forgot what the statistic was. I'd have to look it up. However many years it's been since they played that live. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping maybe being Riot Fest that maybe they just pull out at least one or two older songs that they don't usually play. That'd be pretty rad. But I get it where they're at in their career. I expect 80% of the set list to be their singles because obviously they have to appeal to the masses. It's the same thing like going to see Metallica. There's only so many deep cuts you're going to get at where they are in their career, and you kind of expect it. But I'm excited because I have not seen Green Day since I think they played the Riviera for Nimrod. That's the last time I saw them live. Just since then, just I hate to be that guy, but I was just kind of hey, proud of them for their success, but just didn't really feel the need, having seen them so many times when they were coming up, didn't really feel the need to really ever kind of go see them again. But once again, Riot Fest is always the great environment for seeing bands, both veteran and new bands that maybe you wouldn't go check out on their own. So that's what I love about Riot Fest. So I'm excited that gives me the opportunity to see Green Day for the first time in a while.
And Green Day always does something different, that kind of gets the crowd going, or something interesting that's not just rehashing old tunes and that kind of thing. I saw them one year when they did an Op Ivy set, brought out the horns from Op Ivy and played a couple of Op Ivy songs. And since Riot Fest has a Op Ivy fixation, maybe they'll do that again.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. They'll do the shtick where they bring a kid out from the audience and give him a guitar and have him play a song. I just heard that someone came out, they did this shtick. I think it must have been in Europe, and the person started playing Oasis and they kicked him off the stage.
I saw that too. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
You
Nothing against
know,
Oasis, but I guess it touched a nerve for them.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You never know. You never know if certain things like that are staged too, right? Possible. But yeah, that was funny. The one quick thing I do want to say, I'm sorry, I just thought of this looking at it, right? So they don't have anybody going up against Green Day, and they started 8:15. So that going back to what Jim said about after shows, there could be a conflict there with an after show because there's a lot of time there where an
Uh,
after show could
Good
start
point.
at the time that Green Day is starting.
Yeah, they
That,
could get like have an early after show on Sunday night.
yeah, that
So
might,
that
that makes sense. And, there are people who are, not going to want to see Green Day, but they want to keep the fun going.
so
So
that
maybe
that
that,
that I'll say this briefly. That happened to me a couple years ago when The Cure played because they had an after show at Danzig playing his first album in full at the Aragon. As much as I love The Cure, there was no. I mean, I'm a diehard Misfits, Sam Hain and Danzig guy, so there was no way I was going to miss that. So kind of stuck around as kind of felt as long as I could, but I had to get over to the Aragon, so missed The Cure, and that was a major bummer because love The Cure. Riot Fest would be yet another perfect way to see them. So that being said, for me, I think I would still probably see Green Day just because I haven't seen them in such a long time. But I think there could be a potential there because that's a pretty big block starting at 8:15. So I guess we'll see.
all right. That sounds pretty good. So before we wrap everything up and get your final thoughts, I did want to mention, hopefully we'll have information on the after shows too, so we can have part 3 of our podcast with the after shows list. But do you have any final thoughts on Riot Fest and the set times and everything before we go?
No,
See,
I think we've covered it. I think overall, though, while there's some conflicts there, I think overall there's none that I think are too heartbreaking for me, and I feel comfortable with my reasoning for what I'm picking. So I'll say thank you to Riot Fest for that. Really, it's just that Weezer Pistols one that's the real tough one, but I kind of feel there'll be, I think there'll be other chances to see Weezer potentially before seeing Pistols again. So that kind
Good
of once
point.
again that kind of makes that I feel comfortable with that decision. So
Good point. Jim?
I've got my walking shoes. I'm ready to move. Last year, I think one of the days we put up 15,000 steps. So
yeah,
likely doing the same. When there's
for
a
sure.
conflict, sometimes I get FOMO a little bit. So I'll be watching a band and thinking about what the other band is doing, and then maybe after 15 minutes I'll just have to cut to catch the other band. So I think we're going to be doing some traveling and excited. Yeah, I'm surprised. You know, not surprised, but just with the early announcement, it's too long of a wait. So can't come soon enough. Hoping for
Yeah.
Yeah,
good weather.
All right.
for
Well,
sure.
that sounds great. So once again, Jim and Jason, thank you for joining us to talk all things Riot Fest, and hopefully we'll be able to get together soon again for this. And everyone, be sure to visit that'sgoodenough4me.com for all the news on all this music, Riot Fest, small bands, big bands, all that fun stuff. And soon enough, hopefully, we'll have Riot Fest in the books and Jason and Jim's kind of recap of that if we don't talk about it again sooner. So have a great one and talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Have a good one.
Cheers.